Hey everybody, it's John Barrowman here, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends with Martin the Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11. Now you all may know me as playing Malcolm Merlin, and here's a little something for you. Every warrior must learn the simple truth that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
During a trip through time, the Legends were forced to land the Wave Rider in Blue Valley, Nebraska, where they discovered a young superhero.
Yes!
About to take flight.
That's cool.
Who are you?
I'm Stargirl.
And welcome back to Blue Valley Cosmic Crew as we continue to solve the mystery of what's going on. And this week, someone got stabbed in the back, figuratively, and we aren't sure just who betrayed who first. So I'm the looking over my shoulder, the Flash.
And I think we're slightly out of order, but I'm still Harley Quinn.
And I fought off the weather wizard and got my lantern back. I'm X-Force 11.
Slightly out of order.
Hello, Legends.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief, Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
That's right, you are right. Usually you come second.
Yeah. I'm usually sandwiched between the two of you, just like on the Zoom call.
Yeah. And you usually don't have anything, funny to say. You just say, I'm Harley Quinn. You let us be all the silly goofs.
Yeah, I know. I'm not clever on the fly.
All right, well, we got a little bit of news. I will play this for us.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So we had some ratings talk last week, and the ratings this week are better. There's 482,000 viewers, and that's up 100,000 from last week. So that's good news there.
Good news.
It's good news, but how? Why? Why is there such a drop-off and then an uptick? I just don't understand.
I don't know if it's related to some areas carrying sports on the CW or not. I just, I don't know. I know there was a baseball game last week, but I'm not, I think, on Wednesday, but so some especially with those that are now owned by Nexstar, this may be an issue where stuff gets pushed, but I don't know. So
yeah, hard to say.
It's so crazy. Yeah, totally hard to say.
And then on a fun note, per Breck's Instagram, she and Yvette were on the black carpet for the Black Adam premiere. Stargirl was originally supposed to be in Black Adam because they featured the JSA, but they decided they didn't want to step on toes, and they took Stargirl out and also Hawkgirl out, and they swapped in the character of Cyclone, who's another JSA character. So
interesting.
What?
Yeah, I think basically they didn't want to do, a different version of Stargirl since the series is out, and I think when they were filming, it might have interfered with, filming of the season. So. It's one of those things.
They could have just taken Breck Basinger, put her in the movie, and then, the movie and TV universes are now sharing the same timeline. That would have been great.
Yeah, I think so, but they didn't. So,
and then,
but here we are.
And then you say they were going to have Hawk Girl instead of Hawk Man. Hell yeah! Give me a Hawk Girl like from the Justice League cartoons.
Well, they were going to have Hawkman and Hawk Girl.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
So
the fact that she'd be in there.
Yeah, so they took both those ladies out and gave Cyclone a bigger role. So,
dang it.
So,
well, I'm planning to go see it opening night, so I'll let everybody know what it. Yeah, I'm going. I think Thursday.
I'm going probably that Saturday. Check out a matinee. So,
cool. When does it come out?
Next week.
Next
20th.
Week.
Yes.
Oh heavens! All right. I may have to get my act together and ditch my kids.
Ditch them.
Yeah.
It's this is, I would say, DC's last hope. If this does not succeed, DC movie universe is done.
I would agree with that statement, especially with the train wreck that is Ezra Miller.
Yeah. I
mean,
know. It's been getting some good reviews so far, and so I know our sister show, Dive into DC, is going to cover it.
Yeah. I love The Rock.
Dwayne Johnson's been working on this for 15 years. This is a passion project.
Oh,
him.
yeah.
I love him, so.
So do I. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's got a good cast, and having the JSA in there, so.
On the Flash, Ezra Miller's Flash news, they did have him back doing reshoots recently. So something's happening there.
That could be
I'm not gonna go see
reshoots.
it.
That could be reshoots of like, okay, let's adapt, or that could be reshoots of writing him out and putting another Flash in, another universe Flash in. So
was he there?
Yeah, it was with him.
It
he was
with him.
doing pickups, they called it. So
yeah, I don't know.
Unless they announce that Grant Gustin steals the show, I refuse to see that movie. I can't support him.
Yeah, I'm really torn on it. I mean, I want to see it because it's the Flash. Flash is my guy, but I never liked Ezra as the Flash. So
I actually liked Ezra as the Flash. I don't. Now that I know everything I know about him, I can't support him.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to have to see it just so I can lay claim to either whether I hated it or loved it, I guess.
That's fair.
To be able to talk about it, yeah.
I'm not going to go see it in a theater. Let's put it that way.
No money. We'll do the...
I will not give him any money. Nope. Or give them money for him. Anyway, let's move on.
Let's get into our impressions of this episode.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
All right. I gave this one 8.5 cameras watching you.
I expect the song to start playing. Somebody's watching me.
So the first half of the show was a bit slow, but wow, the back half was a wild ride. And I am so glad that Courtney and Cindy's secrets are out to the team. But Courtney needs to come clean to Cameron. I'm even more convinced that this man in the tunnels watching is Mr. Bones, and he is behind the murder of the gambler. And I'm also happy with Sylvester in this episode. He was less up and down in this episode and more consistent. So we'll have fun when we get to favorite scenes, because I didn't choose his talk with Courtney as my favorite scene because I'm like, oh, I'll leave that for one of the other two of them, and none of us chose that as
nobody
favorite
picked
scene.
it.
So anyway.
That's hilarious. I will say that I was torn, but I liked mine just a smidge more just because of the performance of it. So, but we can talk about that much later. Sorry, folks. There's a slight tease for it.
Yeah, and another tease is, I wanted your scene, Harley. That was the one. That was the one, and I could not find anything else. Like, I did not want that Sylvester scene, and you'll hear why later, but there was nothing else in the episode, so I really struggled to find one. And I got an okay one, but it's definitely not my favorite.
Which is hilarious because I actually would have picked Jeff's scene. So, Jeff, you should have just picked the Starman scene.
I'll go with my instincts next time.
Lesson learned. Yeah.
Too funny. All right, Harley, what's your rating?
I gave this one 8 slow burns, and I'm with Jeff. This episode was definitely a little slow to start, but I do feel like we were getting a lot of information, and we were moving our characters where they need to be for the back half of the season. I actually didn't realize how much they packed into the last half of the episode until I was rewatching it and actually was paying attention to the time. So that's pretty crazy. I do not like that our team ends the episode completely at odds with each other. Like, I don't like this whole divisiveness thing, but we have a lot we can talk about that, and we will dig into that later. However, I feel like they're being orchestrated by our shadowy figure. I'm kind of with Jeff. I think I'm leaning towards this is Mr. Bones for sure. But like, I think he's somehow orchestrating all of this, and he's just kind of watching the pieces of the puzzle slowly come together. So,
yeah. Well, before I go into my rating, I mean, are you feeling shades of what season of Arrow was it when the team was all at odds with each other and they split up? And everybody hated that season.
Was that the newbies?
OTA versus new Team Arrow.
OG Arrow versus the new Team Arrow. Yeah.
That season was atrocious.
Season 5, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that season 5? Hated it.
Yeah, we hated that storyline. I still think was it season 4 that was the worst one? Anyway, I'm just
season 4 was
if,
Damien Dark.
Yeah, which to me was the worst season. But that storyline was just nobody enjoyed them being so are we feeling that? It's just like Stargirl's doing the same thing. Why? I mean, but they're also younger, so they should have these type of learning moments. I don't know.
I'm not quite to that level. I also feel like they're being manipulated, so TBD.
Yeah.
I'm not quite to Arrow newbies versus OGA.
No, I'm nowhere near that.
Okay.
Hated that for the record, yeah.
And then your thought about Mr. Bones, I could maybe save this for later, but I might forget because I know it's not in the notes. I mean, they're showing us this shadowy figure with just one hand pushing buttons and playing puzzle pieces down. Are they just expecting us to forget that they already revealed Mr. Bones at the end of last season, like full face and everything? And now we're just going to completely forget. Like, oh, who could that be? Who could that be? I just don't understand the writers thinking their viewers are that stupid this season. It's just driving me crazy.
I'm not sure the thought process, but yeah, I mean, we have seen Mr. Bones, which was what led to Jeff's theory in the first place, I do believe.
Yeah. It's just so weird. We saw him full on, and now there's like, who is this guy? I mean, if it ends up not being him, then okay. Then, he got us, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, my rating is an 8 50-pound plates on each side. Once again, this week's episode is a split for me. Some really great stuff, and then some super annoying parts. And I'm just really starting to wonder how the writers can pull that off. How can they annoy me and make me feel good at the same time in the same episode? I don't get that. But I may just be with Perry White more and more, that I might just be a little too old and a little too tired of this angsty teen drama stuff. Because I turned my back on it so many years ago, and I'm long over it. Maybe I'm just with Carrie, that this stuff is dry. The older I get, this stuff bugs me more and more. I don't want to deal with it.
I get that. Know. I really do.
But
sure.
Again, this week, Courtney is frustrating as hell to me, and I hate that the title character of the show is pretty much my least favorite. That's never a good thing. Because I so enjoyed Cindy again this week. And when she turned it on Courtney, outing her secrets to everyone, and we'll talk about it, but I loved that moment so much. And that's just weird. Why should I hate the main character so much? There's something wrong with the writing and the way what they're doing with it. Anyway, I'm so happy to see Rick getting to level up, and the Ice Granny and Gramps getting some actual scenes and some dialogue to say. Yay for them. Let's get in it, guys.
They are creepy with Pat.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So before we dive in, you and me, Harley, were really talking about ages and appearances of how old characters are or actors are. So I actually looked it all up this week. I wanted to really find out where they are in their real life ages, and there's a couple surprising answers here. So Courtney, played by Brec Basinger, is actually 23, playing a 14-year-old. Beth, played by Angelica, is 24. She's actually older by a year. And that surprises me. I thought she was a little bit younger. Mike, the little brother, he's right where he should be. He's 17, so he's playing 13 or 12, whatever, but, he's 17, so he kind of can play the part. Yolanda, played by Yvette, she is the oldest at 30 years old. Imagine being 30 playing 14. Like, that is some longevity there, girl. She's going to be 80 looking 30. Like,
Well, I think they're supposed to be 15 or 16, but still. Yeah.
Even still.
It's like half her age, literally.
Yeah. Now, here was the surprising shocker to me. I was speculating that Rick is the oldest of the bunch. Him and Cindy are probably way older. He's actually younger. He's only 24. Cameron is his real name, but Rick is only 24, meaning he's only a year older than Courtney. And that surprises me. So he's definitely mature for his age, at least in physicality. Cindy, who played by Meg Delaney, she's 26. So she is not as old as Yolanda, but she is, she's 3 years older than Courtney, so not as much of a difference as I thought. Now here's the other one, Cameron, Icicle Jr. there, who's played by Hunter. He is 29. So I was right there. He is older. Him and Yolanda are the older two. And then the fun one, Artemis. I did not expect this. She is almost as young as Mike. The girl playing Artemis is Stella. She's actually only 19.
Yeah, that actually does surprise me. That's
Cool.
Yeah. There you go. So I was right about one. Cameron is older. Cindy's younger than I thought. Rick is way younger than I thought. And we knew Yolanda was older, but she's definitely the oldest one, which is just, it's so surprising. So there you go.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before you guys get into all your points, I just wanted to point out the opening scene. Cindy staring at the wrecked painting, and we get the first glimpse of her eyes turning to dragon eyes for the first time. I mean, the cool effect, but I just love that her eyes changed right at the moment in the song that was playing, How You Like Me Now. And, and I thought they edited that perfectly. How You Like Me Now with the music that was playing, it was perfect because she's just staring at the camera when we see her eyes change. So it was just a fun moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a very cool way to open it.
Yeah, those red eyes, and then the membranes going across the other direction. Mm-hmm. That was really cool.
Yeah, lizard eyes. So yeah, it was just cool.
Yeah.
But
so
How You Like Me Now. All right, kick us off. Thanks, Forrest. You've been away a week, so welcome back.
Yeah, so we're starting off with the JSA and Friends, or Frenemies. So Rick's experiment with the hourglass was successful. His power lasts over an hour, and he is extremely powerful with how much he can lift and what he can do. And this led me to a question. Can he turn it off? How does he turn it off? Does he just turn the hourglass the other way? Does he just take it off? And will he become addicted to it? And are there limits? So I listened to y'all's discussions last week about talking about this, but this just continues to raise those questions of is he going to become addicted and all those things?
Totally. You added more questions to the pile.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree. Those are all great questions. I definitely am getting the impression he can turn it on and off. I don't know. That's just kind of my gut feeling based on how they're showing everything with it. It also did look to me like he was becoming a little bit physically tired during his workout, even if he was super strong. And Martin, that's definitely something we speculated about last week. So it'll be interesting to see how this carries out through the rest of the season for sure.
I totally loved watching him get to level up. You're bringing in my favorite part of the episode right in the very beginning. Just as you and me speculated, Harley, like you were saying, I was waiting for something to happen when he had the weights over his head and we saw the clock tick past an hour. I thought, okay, he's in the most a really bad predicament right now. He's got all that weight over his head. Something bad is going to happen. I was waiting for them to come crashing down or something, but they didn't. Nothing happened. And like you said, Jeff, he is strong because I don't know how much weight there was on there, but that had to be upwards around 400 pounds is what my guess was. Those are 25-pound plates, and he had quite a few of them on either side. There were so many on there, and the bar was bending. So
yeah.
To add to your question, Jeff, you said, will he become addicted to it? I think yes already. I like your question about can he turn it on or off. Does that have to do with the hourglass? Because he still flipped it over and you can still see the sand was trickling down. I don't know if he needs that anymore. He turned it to turn the power on? So just simply flipping it over, turn it off again? I don't know. That's a good question, and it's kind of a weird one to try to answer. Now, are there limits? That is where my question is. Is there a limit to his strength? Does it continue to grow the more he uses it? Similar to how the Hulk over at Marvel, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. So how does our man's strength work? And I was going to ask you, with your comics background, is there limits in the comics that they stated? Do you know?
I'm not sure right offhand, because the run that I read of the JSA had it was basically an Our Man robot from the future that had a lot of different powers.
Oh.
So it wasn't an actual human being. The human that was Our Man wasn't around anymore, and there was not a son at this point. So the run I read didn't have an actual Our Man. So I'm not sure. So I haven't read a run with actual Our Man. So I'd have to go back and dig into that. So I don't know right offhand.
See, how I want to relate it to is because I grew up reading Marvel comics, and there's always the debate, who's stronger, the Hulk or Captain America or the Thing from Fantastic Four? Like, there's always all these debates, and what Marvel did is they released a 4-issue limited series called The Marvel Universe, and it had every page was dedicated to one character, and they had every single character in the entire Marvel Universe ever created at that point, and they listed all of their abilities and all of their strengths, and they basically rated everything. So for strength, they weighted it on a ton scale. So Spider-Man could lift 10 tons. Captain America could lift 1 ton. The Hulk, unlimited tons, because they've never known what his limit was. And the Thing was 50 tons and whatever. So they had all of the scale set in place, so you knew who was stronger than who just by pure physical strength. So that's why I'm kind of questioning Our Man. Where would he be on that scale? Does he have an upper limit? So I hope we get some of these answers. I think it's pretty obvious that we will. Something is going to happen to him. It's going to tap out. It's going to happen during a moment in time where he doesn't, like the worst time, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be interesting.
No. I mean, for him to just be strong forever, yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
We'll have to see what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at like the DC Wiki page, and under strength, like it says superhuman strength, durability, stamina, agility, night vision, and aquatic adaptation. He can breathe underwater.
Huh.
That's interesting.
The energy release. But as far as strength goes, the energy released gives a subject increased strength, but it doesn't give a breakdown of like, okay, this is how much.
Yeah.
So, but
okay, well, I guess the show is free to do what it wants then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they can kind of make it their own, especially since it's his son. Because I think in the actual comics, do we ever get a story with Rick, or is it always with his dad?
So
right.
So that the one I was looking at was Richard Tyler.
Oh, okay.
And
So that could be Rick. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, when I remember back when we were covering the JSA with Legends, I had done a little bit of digging, but I was looking at Our Man, which would have been Rick's father.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, at least in this one, we saw him throw a van, and I thought, he just threw the 18 van. What's he doing?
I know, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty
It was
crazy.
a black van with the red stripe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he also apparently can jump, because he came jumping from over top of the trees. Holy cow.
Yeah.
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 So good stuff.
Interesting. We'll see.
Yeah. That was awesome.
We'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. Next up, Beth has blocked her parents from being able to call her, like y'all speculated that she needed to.
Yeah.
And, she really explains to them why she wants to protect them. And they seem to accept it, but I have a feeling that this is not going to turn out well for them, either both her and for them, because I think she actually is going to need them some, and they're going to jump in when they shouldn't. I think something's going to go wrong here.
I feel like something has to go wrong to keep it interesting, but I also kind of feel bad for her because she is so close with her parents. So I'm wondering if she's going to cave and end up looping them back in based on what Yolanda had said.
Right, yeah.
Because, I mean, Yolanda on the one hand was like, no, I don't want my parents involved, but it's because my parents suck. So I was like, oh. So I can see Beth kind of maybe backtracking a little bit, but we'll see.
You know, that's a good point. I think because of what Yolanda said, she's probably going to... I think what she should do is lay down some groundwork, some rules. Okay, I'll involve you and I'll ask your advice, but you can't do this, this, and this, or whatever. So I think they'll work it out. Like you said, they have to do something with them, because if they don't, then her parents are all but irrelevant on this show.
I know.
And the only way I can see making them relevant is if they switch their storyline away from this parenting stuff, which I'm really tired of, and let's have Dr. Mom do more doctoring stuff, like with our team getting injured, and she's the secret undercover doctor that knows they're the team, and she's helping them out. You know, we saw it on Arrow. They had a secret doctor that the Arrow team went to see. Let's do that here, because I'm fine with that. And then Dad obviously works with Barb at the office, so let's develop something for him there, where him and Barb work together to do something, you know, because they're giving Barb a storyline, so maybe he can just support her. That, to me, that stuff is more interesting than this parental stuff. I'm really, really tired of this parenting stuff with them and Beth, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. They need better storylines if they want to keep them in.
Yeah. So Beth, with the help of the Dr. Midnight goggles, hacks the laptop data and discovers the camera feeds around town.
Now this gets interesting. All right, first point. Her house doesn't seem to be bugged. I thought that was pretty interesting because I feel like they have to know who she is, right? I feel like it's definitely not possible for them to know that she's Dr. Midnight given the location of all the other cameras and how much she interacts with all the other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to say about that is, let's go to Martin's point first, and then I'll bring up mine.
As for your point about her house not being bugged, she was sitting on her bed. She looked up and just scanned her bedroom.
True.
So whether she scanned the rest of the house or there's a bug outside her house looking at her front porch like every other one has, there's still that possibility because we don't know. But what I'm surprised at is how many cameras there are and where they're all hiding. Like, we saw that there's one in the Dugans' living room looking at them. And, how do these cameras get there? How did someone run around and put cameras in everybody's place? And I think I wrote this in my notes later, but I'm going to say it now because it's in my head. I'm trying to imagine, how does somebody get cameras everywhere? But then I realized, they have the same technology as we do. Maybe they're just using security cameras. They're hacking into security feeds. They're hacking into Amazon Alexas and whatever, all that different type of stuff that we have. They could possibly just be hacking into that, and that's what they're using.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely plausible. I mean, I have cameras all over my own house for our own personal security purposes, but someone in theory could hack those. Hopefully not. Yeah. I'm now getting really creeped out, but hopefully not.
Well, yeah. So I've got 2 points on that. I think it could be that, and it also could be that the gambler had this shadow person is co-opting the gambler's cameras, because remember, the gambler was looking at all those camera feeds in the beginning of this season, and it only, he got killed because when he was discovering one outside his own trailer. So I think some of those were his that he had in place. So he could have had the entire town wired for blackmail purposes, and this guy's just hacking into him.
Yeah, okay, and that's a decent enough answer for a lot of the cameras around town, but the ones that are actually inside people's homes, the
Right,
gambler's
and
not
so
somebody that would go be putting those in. He wasn't in everybody's house, so that's...
Right, and so I think some of those could be definitely hacked.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I don't think, at least in her bedroom, that there's not there is because if they know that who she is and that she's got the goggles would have alert, because we have seen her in her room with the goggles on, and it's giving her all types of information. And so
True.
if they know that she's got that abilities, those goggles are going to pick it up. So they may not have it inside her house, but they probably have it outside her house. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, another thing that drove me slightly crazy about this and the following scenes. I mean, she's trying to keep everybody calm and distract them, and she turns on the juicer, which is smart because we now know that the cameras definitely have audio. That was something we speculated about at one point. They definitely have audio, but seriously, they all simultaneously look at the freaking camera. Could they be more obvious? What if someone's watching you at that particular time? You have to assume so. Ugh. Anyway, that bothered me.
Real amateur hour there.
Yeah.
So, and this is why I think, they saw the feed and they knew exactly where to look. And that's why I think it could be one of their indoor security cameras. They looked right at it. They know that that's their camera.
Yeah. That was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But looks like we'll address that next week, according to the promo. So that's
I
good.
didn't see that one, actually, so...
Yeah. Well, it was pretty action-packed. I need to watch the promo again. So.
Get excited.
So next up is Yolanda, and she confesses to the priest about stealing the laptop but about what she's about to do. And he, talks about, that, whatever the reason, it's wrong. And then he brings up how judgmental her family is. That even he knows that they have a sense of judgment that is out of the norm of what is expected within the Catholic faith. And so, even he's bringing that up to her. And I'm like, ooh, ow.
Well, and then she tells him that one day she'll fill him in on everything that's happening in the town. And I was just like, he's the bad guy. Don't tell me. He's the guy behind. It's super far-fetched, but it just kind of struck me in that moment. She's here confiding everything into the priest, and for all we know, she's going in there all the time to tell him everything, and that's how he has all his information. He's the bad guy.
I mean, it kind of seems that way. Not gonna lie.
Anyway, yeah.
That's funny.
So I threw our young all-stars in this section. So we've got Mike and Jakeem trying their best to recruit Cindy to get her access to the ISA files so they can beat the rest of the JSA to the punch, but with no luck.
I will say I am kind of glad that at least Mike's motivation to partner with her is a smart one. After last week, I was like, are they really partnering with her for the right reasons? But she definitely does have access to a ton of information, and she could also use a few friends. So I'm going to be curious to see if she'll end up relenting. Plus, I mean, Mike and Jakeem, they're not exactly very adept superheroes. So she could actually protect them. So, all the way around, not going to lie, props to Mike. This is a smart acquisition or whatever. They're trying to go after her on their team. I think that's smart. Smart alliance. There we go. That's a better word.
Except Mike isn't a superhero. He has to ask to borrow the suit. There's nothing he can do. He's useless.
That is true. But Jakeem has a genie in his pocket, so.
Yeah. So they can work together. But
very unreliable at that.
I mean, It's fine. I am actually not annoyed by their scenes this season. Like the last 2 seasons, Mike was just really awful to watch. And this season, the actor has just found his groove. He's playing his part fine. It's not bad. I just don't find how well it fits into the show. Like it's like I said 2 weeks ago. It just seems like a whole separate show that we're watching every time we focus on those 2 guys. So
yeah, that's true.
I mean, they're fine. They're not bugging me this time around. It's just give or take. Doesn't matter to me.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I had a couple points about Sylvester here, so I'll kick us off for this section. I actually felt like he was a decent mentor this episode. He helped coach the JSA without giving them terrible or life-threatening advice, which is a feat for him. He hasn't done that yet all season, so bravo, Sylvester. Good job. And he was there for Courtney when she needed someone to talk to. So apparently that was Jeff's real favorite scene that none of us picked, but it was a great scene.
Well, he beat Pat, too, because Pat was coming in to talk to her, and he already heard, oh, shoot, Starman's in there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated him and giving us background because I had forgotten his tie with Brainwave and Brainwave Jr. I had totally forgotten that Brainwave Jr.'s mom was his sister.
I forgot. Did we know that before?
Me too.
I don't know if we knew that.
It may have been there.
I feel like we did.
In season 1, they may have mentioned it, but definitely not in season 2. But yeah, but I don't think we knew the depth of the betrayal and just to hear his insight into, he thought it was like a trick and that she was getting mind wiped but no, and just to see why he is resentful of Icicle and the others and things like that. I thought he did a good job of helping her find her footing of who she needs to be and not be his version, to be a clone of his Starman, but to be her Stargirl. So I thought it was a good pep talk with her.
Yeah, no, I really did think this was a great scene. My favorite scene edged out just a tad because of the performance, but I felt like it was nice to see them draw the similarities between Courtney and Sylvester, but not in a negative way. Because, I mean, Starman, we've kind of struggled with him all season just because he's been very kind of crazy and unbalanced and a bit manic. So I liked that they were able to draw that parallel without it reflecting poorly on Courtney. And I also like that for once, he actually told someone what they needed to hear and gave good advice that was not life-threatening in any way, which he seems to have had trouble doing all season so far.
Yeah. Well, he did do good there. I'll definitely agree with you guys. He did well in that scene with what he had to say to her, but it's just, I don't know. It's too long to get to this point. Like you were saying, Harley, last week, he's not the hero I wanted when they were bringing Starman in, and because of that, he's not growing on me. All of this crap they gave us in the first half of this season, it's just I'm not enjoying his character. So now they give us a really good scene with him, and it's yeah, he's really good, but it's still not working for me. I just don't care about you, Starman. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The only reason it's working for me even slightly is because I love Joel McHale.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with his work.
Yeah.
And honestly, after listening to y'all last week, I think there is... I think this is direction. I think this is what the writers are trying to do, that he is an unstable hero, and because, maybe he wasn't the best to begin with, and maybe there was another leader in the JSA, but what he's gone through has just thrown him out of whack, and he's just not, where he needs to be. So he is just being ruled by his emotions, and it's up and down, and he's going to have to get settled out. And so I think this is clear direction. I'm just not, like, I don't know. I want to see why he is the way he is right now. Like, for them to give us an explanation of this is why I'm, because we get the point of Pat talking with Courtney later, and, he is talking, like, he's obviously seen Starman, like, blow up at the Crocs and had to stop him this season. So he knows something's not quite right. But, like, I want to see the motivation that the writers did to why he's up and down and to kind of get him back on even footing. So, yeah.
Yeah, like, they did that. You're right. I forgot if Pat had witnessed him explode yet, and he kind of did. But then this episode, they went and, him and Courtney are like, yeah, he's pretty great. Yeah, he's the best. And it's like, okay, Pat, are you just blinded by your friendship with him from 40 years ago? Because he's not the best right now at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand you, Harley. You like the actor from previous work, so I get that. Because he's brand new to me, I'm not attached to him. But it'd be the same. Like, I defend Nathan Fillion no matter what. I don't care if he's in something crappy or good. Like, he gets a passing grade from me every single time, no matter what he does, because I love Nathan Fillion. So I understand that. Just for me, Joel McHale isn't working. I don't know the guy, and if it's the writing or the directing, whatever it is, it's the character. The character does not do it for me. And
honestly, I think part of it too is that they can't have him be the hero that he was, because this is Stargirl.
That's true.
They've got to have some way of having him have an exit strategy of he's got to go work on himself. He's going to go lead another team. He's going to do something, because this is her show. And, like, if he is a stand-up leader and the person that we all want him to be, or, we expect him to be, then the show, it really needs to be renamed to the JSA and not Stargirl, because it's not Stargirl. Yeah. So, there's all these possibilities of why they're doing it. I kind of want to see the real world explanation of why. Get to that point, writers. But anyway.
No, it's a good way to explain it, for sure.
So,
yeah, I could definitely use some why as well.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, next up is the suspects, and we're going to start off with Cindy. And we get the information that Cindy knew Yolanda took the laptop because Yolanda had left scratches on the window when she came in the first time. And I really appreciate that she tries to talk to Yolanda, but Yolanda's just not going to listen, and then they begin their epic fight. And this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. This fight was great. I loved it. It went on for a long time, I guess. Like, when I was first watching it, I was just really caught up in it. But on the second watch, I was particularly paying attention to the time and when things occurred. And I was like, wow, this was kind of like a really long battle. But it was great. And I think one of the things that I definitely loved about it is we got to see kind of a reverse shooting star in a battle. So there it is. And looks like Courtney for sure has leveled up. So they're carrying that across the Arrowverse shows these seasons. So
yeah, well, like you said, Cindy noticed the scratch marks outside her window, so novice move there, Yolanda. But did you guys notice in the fight that when Yolanda was making her fight moves, whether she bounced off the wall or clawed at the bedpost, or she jumped up to the ceiling and then redirected herself, every time she touched something, there was a purple streak of light. That's the suit, right?
It indicates her powers, from the suit.
Yeah, because she definitely was a lot more agile and strong than a normal person would be, the way she was jumping around. So,
yeah, and honestly, I don't think we haven't seen that in a while, and so it's just like, oh yeah, or maybe it's been a while. They're just now adding that special effects to make it.
It's been there from the beginning. We just haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah, we just haven't seen it for a while.
But here's my thing is, and I'll bring this up again later, but Cindy was just in civilian clothes in this fight and in her fight later with the two of them, and she's able to hold her own. So, because we were debating, what does the suit give her? Does the suit enhance her abilities? Is it just a defensive thing? We're not sure, but here she was able to fight and stand toe-to-toe with these people in just civilian clothes. So is Cindy naturally powered herself because she's part Dragon King? I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that regeneration that's built in there from the lizard DNA or whatever.
Or whatever, yeah.
Question for you, X-Force, because one of our feedbackers made us bring it back up again, is the mechanical part of her suit. She's got a Darth Vader light-up chest panel. Why? What is that? What's your idea?
That kind of bugged me too. I didn't even think about it till it's like, oh, it's just decoration. But why put it on there? Unless it's adapting to her underneath so that it doesn't get torn up. In the X-Men universe, they had this explainer that their costumes were, in the comics, were made of unstable molecules so that, they didn't rip them up as badly, because that kind of gave an explainer and things like that. But I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm looking at a comic costume and it's got it's down towards the belt buckle.
Yeah,
but
it's belly. Yeah,
I don't know.
So okay, because we had all kinds of speculation on it. So I'm not sure.
It's such an odd choice stylistically if there's no purpose for it.
And that's why there has to be purpose for it, because it doesn't make any sense. But did you guys notice in the fight in the bedroom, Yolanda actually cuts her across the face with her claws, and Cindy immediately heals. There was even a sound effect for it as it healed.
Yeah. No, she's always had that ability, though.
Okay.
That instant healing.
Well,
we've definitely seen that before.
Yeah, we've seen her heal. I just didn't know it was that fast. But I'm wondering if Yolanda noticed.
Oh. I mean, I don't see how she wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know.
She cut her face pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as for your shooting star, I guess it could be the reverse. I mean, maybe she lit it up and then she aimed it at the ground. I don't know. But at least they made use of it now. So yay for that, because I was always questioning what good is that going to be. So there you go. Now we saw how it could be used.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Use it in a battle.
Yeah. And right before that happened, we have Our Man joining the fight, and things weren't looking good for Cindy until Stargirl showed up. But I loved what Flash brought up of the van being tossed in and the jump in by Our Man. That was amazing. I'm like, where did that van come from? And then he comes pounding in. I was like, wow.
He's definitely showing off. Look what I can do now. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was going for the kill shot. That van would have crushed Cindy if it landed on her.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I love, like I said, I love seeing Rick getting to level up. But when you watch this fight closely, and you guys know I do, Rick needs to learn some fighting moves. He needs to get into the training, into the dojo or something, and learn how to fight, because all he is doing is throwing haymakers. He's super strong, but he's just throwing his fists around without any skill behind it. And because of that, Cindy was able to stand toe to him. When it was one-on-one, she could stand in there with him. So I thought, okay, shouldn't his strength overpower her? But no, she was equaling him or besting him with her various kung fu and martial arts moves. So, until she was faced with both of them, because while she was standing toe-to-toe with him, Yolanda came in and tripped her up, and then Rick was able to turn it around and slam her to the ground. But without it being 2-on-1, she could handle them both one at a time. So, and that, again, like I said, is without her suit.
Yeah. So, I agree.
Yeah, Rick needs to learn how to fight, because just being strong isn't always enough.
Yeah. He can take some lessons from the Crocs if he would get over it. Both of them could teach him some stuff. So
Sure.
So, Jess, I don't know if you want to talk about this now or wait till your favorite scene, because this is where we get the reveal.
That's true, but I mean, we've got some points to talk about with the favorite scene. Let's just keep going with the notes.
Okay. So Cindy reveals to them that the change started after she came out of the Shadowlands. And I'm wondering, okay, did being in the Shadowlands spur it on as some type of self-defense mechanism of like, okay, my body's got to cope with being in the Shadowlands and all that is, so I've got to, adapt to that? Or was it just the timing of her dad's experiments of, okay, she's reached a maturity level, she's using her powers, so they're going to, like, go further? I don't know.
I mean, personally, I'm just kind of thinking it was definitely her dad's experiments. I mean, I think that was kind of like his plan all along, is to have maybe a more perfect version of himself. So I don't know if her transformation will be permanent or maybe she can switch back and forth. I don't know. But I definitely think that was part of her design, if you will.
Yeah, see, that's a good question to theorize about, because for me, I can't see how the Shadowlands could trigger that. She's just in a different dimension, but what I'm wondering is maybe because it was kind of a near-death experience, maybe that does trigger whatever self-protection she has going on that's inside of her. Because she can heal and she can, bounce back. And as we saw with Mr. Rat Lizard there, like, apparently live for a long time. So I wonder if that just being near death could trigger that. Where I'm sitting right now, that it is just an unfortunate timing thing. Whether it's an age thing, a maturity thing, hence X-Men, the mutants, when you reach 18, your powers open up or whatever. It could be something like that too. I don't know. I'm leaning towards the timing right now, but you never know.
Okay. Interesting. Cool.
Well, okay, hold on. Maybe that's what her suit has something to do with, because way back in season 1, her dad said she wasn't ready for it, and that was her, quote, graduation suit. Well, what if she hadn't graduated because she hadn't started transforming yet?
Yeah.
This could still play a role. Yeah. We just don't know what it is yet.
You're right. I brought that up last week too, so yeah, it's good to bring that back. Yeah. Graduated because she hasn't transformed yet, graduated from high school, or graduated in her training. Like, it could be anything.
All of the above. I don't know.
Yeah,
it seems,
true.
I don't know. It feels significant, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. She says that she had the laptop to search for her dad's labs and a cure.
And again, this is part of your favorite scene, but to me, I'm just going to say here, I'm just glad she came clean. I just, please, let the team be there for her now and understand. Give her some friends. Let her be part of them. Like, I want her to have a chance to turn this around. Although she walks out on them at the end of the episode, so I don't know if that's going to happen right now. I'm just tired of Rick and Yolanda giving her such a hard time. Now that they understand and know the whole story, they should ease off on her. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
Yep. And we'll talk about it more later. All right, so Mr. Bones, or the figure in the shadow, whoever it is. So we see this figure watching the events of the episode as they unfold. And they're just watching it, putting together a puzzle of a skull. And like, I'm just wondering, okay, what's going on here? I want more. I mean, it's better than just an arm that we've seen.
6 episodes in, and still just an arm, but now there are some puzzle pieces.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you. It's a bit puzzling. Pun intended. But So here's what I noticed, although I kind of unnoticed it at the end. So I felt like in the middle, as the puzzle pieces were forming, one, I definitely was starting to notice that they were forming a skull. So that's why I'm totally on board with your Mr. Bones theory. And then two, in the middle of it, it kind of looked like they were fusing together, like they were becoming one piece. But at the end, the way that the light hits it, you can see that I think it's still individual puzzle pieces, so I may have like debunked my own theory. But I was kind of getting really interested with the fact that it was forming one thing and then almost like becoming like a living thing, you know? So I thought that was kind of cool.
I didn't see it like that. My question was, are you sure it was a skull? Because I didn't quite see a skull. Like there was these very dark, shadowy blots on it, and I was seeing a face starting to form, but it looked like a face with a jaw really open wide. Like whatever face it was screaming. You know, like in a horror movie when you see someone's jaw stretch farther than it should be able to, and it's that kind of face. That's what I saw. So I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know, because what I saw were the eye holes and the nose hole.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. I didn't think we got the jaw yet.
I didn't even see a jaw.
It was just this part.
Yeah. And
so maybe you're looking at the area where the nose is and thinking that may be like the ragged area, maybe the jaw. I don't know.
Because our nose is all cartilage, so like our actual skulls, it's just a hole right here. So what I felt like we saw was eye holes and a nose hole.
Okay.
That's where I was.
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But the question I have from every time we see this dark arm on the table, we got a better view of the room this time. And how can he see anything on those monitors? Because the monitors were on the other side of the room, and they're very small. Like they look like 6-inch TV screens or something, or 1 foot, like 12-inch TV screens, and yet they're on the other side of the room for the desk. So how he can actually see what's going on, I don't know. Maybe he's got great vision.
TV magic? Yeah. I don't know.
Yes.
Flash being nitpicky.
I totally get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But here's my other thing about the figure, right? So to me, he looks like he's definitely watching, but it also seems like he's almost orchestrating what's going on. I feel like he's just waiting for these events to unfold. You know, like just as he's putting these puzzle pieces together, you know, like I feel like he's putting all of the events and all of these circumstances into place, like just so in the right way. So that's going to form this bigger picture.
Yeah, because at that time it seemed like every time something happened, he would add another piece.
Exactly.
And he's got, we don't know how many monitors. It looks like there's 10, 12, 15 monitors in there. So he's watching everything, and that's why his puzzle is coming together pretty quickly. So I don't know.
Yeah, and if it is like Mr. Bones has powers, but like from the things that I read in the Batwoman comics, he is an orchestrator, a power player, a political player. Like he's getting dirt on people, he's blackmailing people. Like in the comics, like it was blackmail. He was blackmailing Batwoman with Alice in order to get him to work with the DEO. And so he's like that manipulator behind the scenes. So that would make sense if that is who we're seeing it, that he's manipulating stuff. And the real question is, like, what is his purpose? Like, why does he want, you know, is he recruiting members? Is he trying to get dirt so that they'll work with him? I don't know, but it's very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much.
I know the next 2 weeks are titled Infinity Inc. Part 1 and Part 2.
Ew.
And so from the look of the previews, it looks like we're going to get a confrontation. And so, I'm wondering if he's going to have that group, or there's going to be another group split out from what we've seen titled Infinity Inc. I don't know. It's like, I still have the questions, like, why did he kill the gambler? Like, did he use others in the process? I don't know. Like, it's just intriguing, and so that's good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only information we got about the gambler so far is that he was paying everybody back that he ripped off. How does that play into why he got killed. Like, there's got to be a connection somewhere. And, you know, why Mr. Bones would kill him, if that is Mr. Bones, we don't know. Like, there's 6 episodes in and all we got is an arm on the desk. Like, I hope it's probably not going to happen, but I hope we get information a little sooner before the finale and it all gets dumped on us. You know, like
Yeah.
Your favorite plot device.
yeah, wrap everything up in one episode. Yeah, I know. It's going to happen, and that's Stargirl's MO right now, so.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. And a little bit Superman and Lois, too. So.
Yeah. But,
All right,
sorry,
so...
about your next 2 episodes in
go ahead.
Infinity. That sounds something exciting to look forward to, because maybe we get some new characters, we get some new reveals. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and hopefully we get Jade and Obsidian.
Finally.
Yeah. All right, so since there was no real lessons in normalcy this week,
No.
the last section is I titled it Cameron and Courtney, and this was really cool because we get to see Courtney continuing her training with Cameron and really seeing how effective it is.
Yeah, I felt like he's progressing rather quickly. Not gonna lie. I'm still a little confused about the end game with him, though. It really seemed like they were trying to make him a villain, and while I'm still kind of feeling like they're pushing him in that direction, they're also really entangling him with Courtney, which I get they're probably going to use that as like a device to push them apart, but I don't know. Anyways, it's a little weird.
This episode really kind of gave me the feeling that Cameron might be on the good side. He might, like, I don't know. I just feel like it's until he finds out who she is, what has happened, and that she's been lying to him this whole time. I still think that's going to trigger him. He's going to snap. That I'm going to stick with that 99% sure that that's the reason he's going to go bad. But this episode gave me a glimmer of a thought that he might be mad when his grandparents do reveal all the information. He might be mad. Oh, you're just trying to break us up. Because they both him and Courtney seem pretty upset with what was happening with the parents hanging out this episode. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're teenagers. They like, stay out of my love life, Mom. Like, what do you know? Like, so.
Yeah, but this is Flash's favorite scene that he had to pick, but the very awkward meeting with Pat and Barbara and the grandparents, and pun intended, it was a very icy reception, and the feeling goes both ways.
I mean, I agree. I just felt like it was really awkward. It's like they're all dancing around the same secret, except Cameron. He's the only one that doesn't know. And his grandmother is super transparent. I felt like it was extremely obvious that she didn't like them or their daughter. Just saying.
And that could be why Pat and Barbara were so uncomfortable, but I don't know how they couldn't pick up on it, because she is blatantly obvious that she is so angry and she's vengeful and she's full of hate. I mean, she could not contain herself at all. Granny Ice is not happy, and Gramps there was keeping her in check. So,
yeah,
which was interesting.
Yeah. But it appears that they have not talked with him yet, because he gives Courtney flowers there towards the end of the episode. So, he doesn't know yet, so they haven't told him yet. So
and this is where it gets a little confusing for me, because he's super all in on this relationship with Courtney, and they're trying to push him down the bad side, but I also feel like they're really showcasing his good qualities. So I know they're going to use the fact that she's Stargirl and her stepbrother murdered his father, but as the whole thing to push him to the dark side. I'm feeling that, but I feel like for doing that, you're going like really, really far one way just to push him the complete opposite. And it feels a little off.
See, this one's got me thinking a lot because we thought both grandparents were really after Cameron. They're not. They both hate Courtney and they're both going to tell him whatever. But I don't think Grandpa is on their side of their relationship because he's been spying on them with Granny Ice and unhappy with what he sees as much as she is. I just think he's the calm one of the bunch and doesn't want to show their hand too early. I think they have a plan in place. He's playing like the long game. I think it's Granny just can't keep her cool. Another pun for you. She can't keep her cool. Yeah. She's losing her temper. She's emotional, and he's the one that has to keep her in check. But I think he's still on her side, and he didn't want to reveal too much in this scene. He wants to let them like just
and
pretend everything's normal. They don't know nothing about us. We'll just, everything's nice. As long as the kids are happy. Right, dear? Pat, pat, pat. I think he's just playing the game right now, and he's gonna get his wife, under control, and the two of them they've got a plan. They've got a plan in place.
Right, and I think part of that is he is recognizing how far the training is taking Cameron and using that as a means to an end.
Yeah.
And, he's seeing like, okay, he's progressing a whole lot better than maybe his dad did at the time when he was getting his powers. And so we'll let this play out a little bit longer until, he doesn't need her anymore as far as he's got more control over the powers.
Yeah.
So I think that may be his end game, and she's just so emotional and tied up in the loss of her son that she's like, forgetting that plan. So we see at the end of the episode Cindy calling out Courtney and about the secret of her training Cameron, and the JSA basically kicks her out and says they're getting Starman to lead.
Yes, that's true. Part of this is part of my favorite scene, and I really just thought that Meg's performance was absolutely fantastic. But about all of this, once we get to the later scene of them like kind of confronting Courtney, I don't know, I didn't love them ganging up on her that way. It just kind of like didn't feel right. Like, I understand where they're coming from. I mean, they've been betrayed as well. It's just not a good situation all the way around. But because they're young, I don't feel like they're handling it well, and I think that's what rubbed me the wrong way.
Allow me to put on the yellow suit for the moment, because I loved that moment.
Of course
I was
you
like,
did.
haha, yeah, Courtney, this is what you get for being so stupid all season and lying to everybody and keeping secrets. Because we've been complaining about how secrets have always ruined the storylines of these shows. And I'm so glad that this show is finally giving some consequences for keeping those secrets. So, yeah, she needs to learn the hard way, and I'm glad this happened.
All right.
Yeah. And as I said in the beginning, she needs to come clean with Cameron.
We're
before
broken
his
records on
grandparents
that
do.
for
But
how long? The entire season.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Oh,
And she had two opportunities in this episode, too. Twice he opened the door for her. Like, I'm still amazed at how you know so much about this. Hello? Door swings right open for you. Tell him everything.
It was my coach.
Oh, my
Gymnastics coach.
Yeah. It's like, you didn't even have to like clarify that. You could have just let it hang, and he would have filled in the gaps.
And then she lies to Pat and Barbara out on the street. When they're like speculating, well, the grandparents must have powers too, and she's like, oh yeah, well they do, because Cindy must know that, and she completely protected Cameron from letting the Pat and Barbara know that he's got powers. Like, you're lying to everybody, and it drives me crazy. I cannot stand Courtney right now. It's just she's my least favorite. Like, I'm actually enjoying Mike's scenes more than I'm enjoying her, and that is insane to me.
Wow.
All right. Well, enough of that kind of talk. Let's get into our favorite scenes, because I think we pretty much gave away everything that we're going to show, but let's do it anyway.
Shape out an eagle!
And we're going to dive right into that scene, which was mine that I ended up on, and it's Pat and Barbara sitting with the ice grannies and Gramps, and how really uncomfortable that is. Here it is. And by the way, I called it the Ice Age.
We really came by just to tell you how delighted we are that Courtney and Cameron are spending a lot of time together.
Yet you're here. I'm assuming you have concerns?
Us? No concerns at all. We just wanted to come by and tell you...
Tell you that Cameron is such a nice young man.
He sure is. Good kid.
Well, your daughter is...
I think she's very special, too.
Special how?
Well, I think what Barb means is thanks. Thank you. She's a good kid, you're right.
I never had a chance to personally tell you how sorry I am about what happened to Jordan. He was a great man.
He was. Tell me, Barbara, do you know how it feels to lose a child?
Do you hear how ominous that music is?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you swear Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees are coming down the hallway, surrounded by an army of zombies coming to get you. Like, I've never heard such ominous music leading up to something.
Very threatening, yes.
Yeah, so that's why I ended up choosing that one, mostly because of the music and the Ice Grannies getting to actually speak and play a part, so it was cool.
All right, on the other side of the spectrum, I chose this one because it was a light-hearted scene, but I absolutely loved it. I called it Love Advice from Zeek, so let's take a listen.
Hey, Zeke.
Boys, what do you say? What do you know?
Well, we got a little bit of a problem.
That right?
A girl problem.
Well, fellas, you have come to the right place.
See, there's this girl that we both like, but she won't even pay attention to us.
She'll barely talk to us.
How do we get her to give us a chance?
Ah, yes. Romance, competing for a lover's heart, huh?
No, that's not. No,
I've taken my turn on love's cosmic merry-go-round, round and round. Ah, yes. Well, I've danced under the moonlight on the beaches of Monaco with the Duchess of Liechtenstein. And I've had my heart broken by poor chimney sweep's least interesting daughter.
You danced with a duchess?
Oh, yes, I did, and then some. She showed me every swift move of the Viennese waltz, and I taught her the funky chicken. We were quite the pair. Anywho, I found there are two universal truths in life. One, you can't unstrip a screw, and two, you can't give up on love.
You still miss any of them?
Do I long for love lost? No, sirree, Bob. Not me. You see, so far, it's only been one girl in all of the world that I think has tamed this wild heart of mine. If it's meant to be, boys, trust me, it'll be.
Zeke.
Yeah, I love this peek into Zeke's past of, like, you think this is the guy that just runs the junkyard, and yet he's, been out with royalty and everything, and,
the Duchess of Liechtenstein? Like,
yeah.
Where's that?
Oh, in Europe somewhere, so, but,
yeah, very tiny country.
Yeah, I just like that he's more involved with the team, and this is helping us get to know more about him, and to know that he likes our head waitress / diner owner, Maria, and she has his heart. So that's interesting after last week's, like, tell Zeke, hey.
Exactly.
Which means there must be more going on behind the scenes with those two for him to say only one girl in all the world has tamed this wild heart of mine. Like, okay.
I don't know. That scene tickled me too. I really liked that scene. I don't know what it is about Zeek, but I find him very amusing. So I would love to see more about him and Maria.
He's the young Uncle Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked about my scene quite a lot, so why don't we just go ahead and listen to Cindy's confession?
Don't act like you care. I do. Cindy, please talk to us. Started changing when we got back from the Shadowlands. I don't know if it triggered this or if it was always going to happen. I don't know what my dad did to me, okay? And I was just trying to find out. I stole the gambler's laptop so I could go through his files, locate labs, find a cure, but I did not kill anyone. Stop looking at me like I'm a monster! Cindy, let us help you. Help me? Help me. I am so tired of all of this. If you were just honest with us in the first place, like I asked you to be. Honest? Like you're honest? Please. Why don't you tell him about your little secret that you've been keeping? About Cameron.
We already know she's dating Cameron.
Dating him? Like father, like son. She's teaching that little psycho how to conjure up icicles. Just like Daddy.
What?
He has powers like the rest of his family.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. And when Cameron finds out what you did to his dad, which he will, he'll come for you. And I hope that he wins.
It was just such a good scene. I know.
Oh, yes.
I loved her performance. It ranged through so many different things, and it's like she switched emotions like almost it felt like on a dime, and I really liked it. Really.
That is why she is my favorite character on the show right now. Her and Rick. I am totally siding with Cindy and going against Courtney. I feel for her. I like her performance, just everything. And why? I mean, this scene perfectly showed as an example why Courtney is driving me crazy, because she's been lying to everybody and everyone about everything, and she's all high and mighty and self-centered on herself. She thinks she has the nerve to be able to yell at Cindy, "Why didn't you be truthful to us like I asked you to from the very beginning?" How dare you even think you could yell at her for that when you are way worse than she is right now? And that's what's bugging me about her. Like, that attitude, that mentality, that she's better than everyone else and it's just, oh my God, she drives me crazy. Cindy is definitely way better than her this season.
Yeah, I felt for her because honestly, everything she's done is trying to cure herself, and she's trying to prove herself in her own way, and she just doesn't have the best way of doing that, and she can't get a break. So, yeah.
Well, and she lacks the experience. Like, she doesn't know what it's like to have a support group and have friends around her wanting to help her. Like, so why is she going to go to the match? She doesn't know. Like, you saw how hard it was for her to actually finally come clean with what she's been doing. So, yeah.
Yep, totally agree.
Well, fun stuff. Let's remind everybody about our Patreon, and we've got actual Patreon content to record tonight, because that's part of the perks you get if you decide to support the show, and this is how you do that.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Teardrops rolling down our faces, sitting here longing for the sound of your text. Feedback, it's time for feedback. Whoa, whoa, please feedback and show us some love.
I think after this episode, everybody needs a little bit of love.
Yep.
Alrighty, we are going to kick it off with a voicemail from Perry White.
Hey, Cosmic Crews. Perry White here with feedback for Stargirl's latest episode, The Betrayal. While I can't say that I'm always engaged with the Icicle plot, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'd probably be much more interested in any scenes between Zeek and the waitress than I would Courtney and Cameron right now. But I digress. What I will say is what's really impressed me about the season is the pacing. It's like the Lenny Briscoe joke from Law & Order about New York when he said, if you don't like the neighborhood, just wait 10 minutes. It changes. It just feels like, particularly in this episode, and perhaps the last one as well, it just feels like the writers have found a good rhythm with their dialogue, and directors and editors get into and out of scenes with a better flow. It makes the show much more interesting to watch, in my opinion, and it just sort of feels like there's just a whole lot more going on, even sometimes when it's not. What I really appreciated about this episode is that the veil on secrets is finally starting to lift. I generally scream at my television when folks are keeping secrets, and I have less reason to scream after this episode. I also absolutely love that they gave the Grand Sickles more to do in this episode. I just love anytime that Grammy and Gramps are on the screen. They are delightfully evil. And to be honest, I would probably enjoy an arc where they served as the main antagonist. I just think there's just a whole lot more to mine with those two characters. I do have one nitpick, though. I'm not like the guy who goes out and then starts putting together these 1,000-piece puzzles, but I do hang out with people who do love to do them. And at no time have I ever seen them put together a puzzle working from the inside out. You always do the borders first, and so that alone tells me that this secret antagonist is absolutely unhinged. Nobody does that. All right. So here's my list of favorite character scene pairings. Zeek talking with Mike and Jakeem about love, man. We need more Zeek all the time. Another good pairing was Sylvester having that really good ending scene with Courtney. I mean, that's the kind of sort of mentorship and guidance that we want to see from Starman much more. And now that we see he can do it, we need more of those kinds of scenes between he and Courtney and he and the rest of the JSA. I know we saw a little bit of that last episode, but his sort of guidance or his advice seemed to be hit and miss. This particular piece of advice, this pep talk, was really good, and I would love to see more of that. Another incredibly favorite scene of mine, which is no surprise, was when Pat and Barb were enjoying lutefisk, I think that's how they pronounce it, with the Gransicles. I'm just glad that it wasn't poisonous. All right, so here is my list of least favorite character or scene pairings. While the fight scene between Yolanda, Rick, and Cindy was probably exciting, it was probably, if I recall, really the only bit of action that we got in this episode. But I'll just be honest, my two least favorite characters this season have been Yolanda and Rick, and it's not necessarily because of them. It's just that the writers have given them one-note stories. I'm mad and disappointed because I don't like this or I don't like that, and it's just, to be honest, it's getting tiresome. So almost any time I see them on the scene, I'm just sort of waiting for the next scene, not really paying attention to what they do. And that was kind of disappointing because, again, this was sort of the big action piece, and it was between a couple of characters that I didn't really care much for. Not to mention the fact that they were essentially fighting in the dark and it was hard to see anything. Another least favorite character scene pairing, and in this situation, what I liked is the fact that, again, what preceded this was the fact that secrets were revealed. I mean, it was finally revealed that Courtney was having not just a relationship with Cameron, but she obviously was helping him with his power. So obviously it was nice to sort of have that out in the open. But again, the scene between Yolanda, Rick, and Beth when they were confronting Courtney, I don't know. I'm not picking sides here, but I thought it was strange that Rick would give Courtney crap for trying to reach Cameron when he basically kind of sort of did the same thing with Grundy, right? So I thought that was a strange sort of beat. Also, I refuse to find joy in any storyline where it appears that Yolanda is right, because like I said before, she sort of has a story right now that I don't appreciate, and I don't want her to be right. So it's kind of hard to watch a scene where she appears to be proven right and she's sort of standing on this sort of self-righteousness kick. I just don't appreciate it. And Beth, she just never seems to have her own through story. She always appears to either be a mediator or reacting to something that someone else is doing, and she just doesn't feel like she has a whole lot of agency. And it sort of came across in this scene where it's like when they finally sort of switched to her, she was sort of quiet and demure, and that's just, for me personally, getting a little bit old. Anyway, but like I said, even if there are things I don't like, the pacing is such that I don't have to sit with my disappointment long. And so that's something that I certainly have appreciated with the last couple of episodes, and feel like that's sort of been the tact and approach that they've taken with this season. I'll give this episode 8 servings of non-poison lutefisk out of 10. This has been Perry White, making my deadline one more time. I will have to continue making it a habit. I'm out.
Yeah, good thoughts as always, Perry. So you're against me with liking Rick's story right now. See, I thought he hasn't hardly gotten anything, and now that they're actually giving him stuff, like leveling him up, that's what I'm excited about. So, interesting.
Yep.
Cool. Yep. Next up is Dad L.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. Dad L back here. I want to touch on some things that you all mentioned last week about the ratings numbers and your podcast downloads and the feedback that you've been receiving. I can understand that. You know, after 6 episodes this season, it's been a real slow burn. And most of the time, I would not mind a show taking its time and having a slow burn and a big payoff. But when you're 6 episodes in, I feel like this is too slow. It's just a little too slow. I think we should have gotten some kind of big reveal, some kind of big action sequence other than Starman at the grocery store. The murder mystery, I liked it at first, but I think it has been drug out, and it's a nice concept, but I don't think the execution has been the greatest. So it doesn't surprise me that overall these numbers are down for this season. We got great character moments in this episode. The acting when Courtney's secret was revealed to the JSA, I thought that was fantastic. Sylvester and Courtney, during their talk, there were some real character moments, some good emotion, some good acting. So all that stuff is great, but I feel like the main storyline has just kind of been drug on. We got the reveal at the end with Mr. Bones apparently putting together a puzzle of himself, if that is indeed Mr. Bones, but it's kind of odd. Why would you have a puzzle of yourself? But I'll give this episode 7 unpoisoned lutefisk. Dead Al, last father of crypto.
The numbers, that's a funny thing. I mean, they were up this week, so who knows? Who knows what's going on there? But we appreciate you sending in feedback, as you always have. It's great for you guys keep doing voicemails for us, so much appreciated.
Yay.
Yeah. And then Patreon, just bring that up again. I think as this show winds its way down to an end, we'll look at doing another group hangout. So we're not going on too many months without it. And then the other thought I wanted to say about, he's talking about the slow burn, and that could be why the numbers are down and nobody's watching. It's just going on too slow. Yes, I agree with you. But if you want to learn how to do a slow burn properly, watch Star Wars Andor. Because even though that show is moving along quite slow as compared to any other Star Wars stuff, the tension that they're building in each episode is palpable, and it gets you prepared for the next episode. So there is a difference. There is a proper way to do slow burn.
Yeah, agreed.
And with that, guys, if you want to be part of the show, this is what you got to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter @tomorrowslegends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
And like Mr. X-Force said, next week is Chapter 7, Infinity Inc. Part 1. So hopefully we get some good action next week. And some new characters.
Hopefully. Should be exciting.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. That's really all we got for you guys tonight. We're going to skip from this to our Patreon bonus listener lounge, which is number 11. We're going to have done this 11 times. So thank you to Perry White, who sent in some extra questions for that. We'll get recording that next. So again, if you guys want to be part of that and want to, get involved in some of these extra perks, then support us on Patreon. We're gonna be happy to get back to this because it's been quite a while since we've done it.
Yeah,
it has.
Yeah, that's really all I got. Check out The Mandalore because we got Andor episode 6. Boy, both shows are on episode 6 this week. Interesting. We'll be doing that on Sunday night. That's all I got for you guys. So, everyone have a good weekend. This is The Flash signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.